This is NBS Live at 9.
Good evening and welcome to NBS Live at 9. First, a look at the headlines.
Brought to you by
Rock Boom. Feel the positive energy.
Has no space in Ginger.
Leader of opposition wants RDC's discipline for frustrating opposition politicians in their districts.
And they're supposed to be senior civil servant.
We want to reflect on how the dormant accounts.
A law to regulate the minimum balance on accounts is in the offing. What does this mean? Also tonight,
it is being seen as a vehicle for ascendancy to political power.
Analysing the Bobi wine factor in politics, a darling to the opposition and a thorn in the flesh for the NRM.
What does Bobi wine have that much?
We have started receiving our guests from abroad.
And a countdown to the enthronement of the new Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, His Grace Stephen Kazimba Mugalu.
But we are sure we are going to accommodate everybody.
Brought to you by
Rock Boom. Feel the positive energy.
Good evening once again. Welcome to NBS Live at 9. I'm Rukshana Namuimba and I'm joined by Ms. Hope Agwang for sign language interpretation. In a top story tonight, the leader of opposition in Parliament, Betty Oluchan, wants the appointing authority to discipline RDCs who are frustrating opposition politicians carrying out consultations in their districts. That report starts us off tonight.
This week has seen police and supporters of Forum for Democratic Change, Dr. Kizza Besigye, locked up in running battles to a point where Besigye was dragged out of his hotel to Nalfenya police station. As the country questioned the crime Besigye could have committed, the district RDC Eric Sakwa said he was an unwanted guest who should never return to Jinja district.
Accept visitors, but if he intends to be a frequent visitor like a desert locust, which is rotating everywhere in the country, he must abide by the security guidelines in the district. A person who antagonizes the business community in Jinja has no space in Jinja.
The leader of opposition in Parliament, Betty Oluchan, has tasked the appointing authority to revisit the actions of people like Eric Sakwa, who are undermining the constitution.
He is a radical. And he thinks by being radical is when he continues to retain his position. Yes, very many of the RDCs are like that. And they're supposed to be senior civil servant. Where is their civility? If you do that and you think you're above the law, we are all supposed to be under the law. We have our supreme law. And probably I am also blaming him when he is also just under, under instruction to do that.
The Land Council, Nicholas Opio, has added his voice, saying there is no clause in the Constitution which bars any person from exercising his rights, and Besigye has a duty to move anywhere without being stopped by either police or RDCs.
He's out of order, but I think his behavior is consistent. Over the last 2 years, the same RDC, who by the way was a rabid UPC activist just a few years ago, has pulled Dr. Kizza Besigye out of radio stations, has blocked meetings that Colonel Kizza Besigye has tried to have in Jinja. He appears to have a personal problem with Dr. Kizza Besigye.
The actions of the police on opposition politicians has forced the Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Aditwala Kadaga, to summon the leader of government business to explain the mandate of the police before the House. Zahra Namuli, Namayo Moses, NBS, Live at 9.
The government is yet to pass the National Payment System Bill to regulate the mobile money balances and balances on dormant accounts after banks have closed them. According to the Minister of State for Finance, Planning and Economic Development, David Bahati, the system will be used to minimize the risks related to unclaimed balances.
Plans are underway to enact a law to regulate mobile money balance as well as money that remains on dormant bank accounts after banks have been closed. The Minister of State for Finance, Planning and Economic Development, David Bahati, says if enacted, the National Payment System Act will be used to regulate the balance on mobile money and the dormant bank accounts. The minister's submission comes at a time when reports indicate that there is 7 billion shillings of unclaimed mobile money.
We want to regulate a number of payments and platforms that we have been using. One, mobile money. We want to reflect on how the dormant accounts, both on mobile money and also on banks, are going to be handled. We want to look at EFTs, RTGSs, all these systems that have been using. We want to. There have been some gaps that were identified.
Bahati was presiding over public dialogue organized by Makerere School of Law to sensitize the law students on how government makes law and provide them with information about the digital economy and the risks of cryptocurrency. He warned the students and the public against embracing the digital economy as well as being careful when dealing in cryptocurrency.
We believe that technology is actually going to drive the economy in the next decade. It's going to provide opportunities for the people of Uganda to transact in e-commerce, but also to do other things like telemedicine, to do smart farming and the Internet of Things.
Because technology is emerged to fix a gap in society. You know, mobile money came to simplify payment systems. Facebook came to ease communications. Email came to ease the movement of information. And so you realize that as we solve society's issues, the law usually comes later. What we were trying to do here is to say, look, let the lawyers of tomorrow have an understanding of how these things work together.
Bank of Uganda Executive Director Supervisions Dr. Twinamanzi Tumuwene said the central bank is not focusing on regulating digital technology, but to help the population understand the risks and impact of cryptocurrency.
We need to understand the risks, and second, that those who are introducing these new technologies demonstrate that they have in place mechanisms to minimize the impact of those risks, both on the wider economy and on the individual members of Ugandan public that will be using this technology.
Victoria Bagaya, Namutamba Esther, NBS, Live at 9.
Now, one day, he was just another popular musician, belting out music that warmed hearts as much as it spoke out on a range of injustices. Today, Robert Kyagulanyi, also known as Bobi Wine, with his People Power movement, appears to be shaping the political narrative in the country. Mildred Haise explores the Bobi Wine factor in politics.
Please, kindly excuse yourselves.
In almost all political parties, decisions have been made either to honor or fail Chadondo East legislator Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, whom many prefer calling a presidential candidate even before he unveils the political party he will be representing.
Forgive them, Father, they don't know who them deal with. Anyway, we are bad man, we don't fear intimidation. That's why we still top of the nation. From Tangala, Kamocha, where we come from. This is a new one for you. It is me, yes, Bad Bobi Wine.
Picking from his background as a celebrated musician, his rise to fame has seen several musicians appointed to big positions in the NRM, even to the level of presidential advisors. Elsewhere, within different political camps, leaders and supporters there cannot fail to mention their association with the man they think has come to give the ruling party sleepless nights.
Instead, it is being seen as a vehicle for ascendancy to political power. No wonder members in FDC, members in Democratic Party, and members in NRM are all complaining about the people power effect to the political parties. The magnitude can be debated, but one cannot ignore the fact or the idea that political actors in the different parties want to be associated with people power because it has a connection with a large population, with the youth, but at the same time, they don't want to lose their identity with their political parties. Why? Because these political parties are the official vehicle.
But what is it in this Bobi Wine that is making everyone catch his fever when he coughs?
It builds on the demographics, the young people. Uganda has a very young population. I think it's the second youngest in the world. These people feel dispossessed, they feel unemployed, they do not have income, and also we are in a country that is having rapid urbanization.
A huge number of the youth is unemployed. That by itself is explosive enough.
Although the demographical composition of Uganda may not be an outright confirmation of a vote for him, it remains a huge spur in his political career. Voter apathy, however, is another incontrovertible idea.
There are so many who are saying that there's no use for holding the elections. Why? Because they are saying already they know what's likely to be the results.
Unlike many popular movements whose goal stands before individuals, Bobi Wine as a figure has continuously outgrown and appeared larger than the People Power movement.
Now, what I find different from the People Power movement is the extent to which the person of Honorable Kyagulanyi, Bobi Wine, has eclipsed the movement, and the pursuit of political positions seems to have transcended any other consideration.
Dr. Gerald Karieja Kagambirwe, an associate professor of public administration and management at the Uganda Management Institute, believes that the people power phenomenon was hijacked when structures were created in the movement, which to an extent limits it, since majority now see it as a vehicle for ascendance to political power. However, the growing push for a transition cannot be ignored for catapulting Bobi Wine.
Nchidamu techichali chachama twagala kujja Museveni ku bukulembeze bwa ggwanga lyaffe kubanga atusiranya atusembya si wa myaka gyaffe tamanyi bye twagala.
I mean, what does Bobi Wine have that much? He hasn't issued a manifesto, not any that I can think of. He hasn't been explicit to say, I'll do this, which nobody else is talking about. But the fact is that all that appears to be weight that he has is the weight with which the population is sort of yearning for a change. So small desire for a change than desire for a particular individual.
In the recent past, the People's Government under Besigye, the Democratic Party, Alliance for National Transformation, among others, have all at one point claimed to be in talks, or rather arranging to talk to Bobi Wine for political collaboration. Mildred Tuhaise, NBS, Live at 9.
Now, all is set for the enthronement of the new Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, the Right Reverend Dr. Stephen Kazimba Mugalu, slated for tomorrow at Namirembe Cathedral. The ceremony will be attended by both local and international guests.
St. Paul's Cathedral Namirembe is the venue for the consecration of the new Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, a ceremony which will take place hours from now. Here, the organizers are making the last-minute touch to make sure nothing goes wrong. From decorations to sound testing and rehearsals, the organizers spent the day bustling for a better tomorrow.
I think the function is good to go.
But really now we are doing final touches.
The organizers told NBS that the cathedral will host about 1,500 dignitaries, including the Kabaka of Uganda, Ronald Muwenda Mutebi II, and President Yoweri Museveni.
But we have also made provision that those VIPs who may not be able to access the church if it is filled, if there's an overflow, they can sit in the tent outside, which will also have the same sitting facilities as for what is inside the church.
With about 4,000 believers expected, other attendees have been provided with tents outside the cathedral, facilitated with public speakers and giant screens to follow the proceedings uninterrupted.
Actually, we estimated that the whole function will be attended close to about 4,000 people. And I think we have made accommodation for a sitting arrangement of 5,000 plus.
We have put in place enough LED screens, giant screens for them to follow the proceedings. And then we're also putting in place food enough food for everyone.
General Katumba Wamala says security has been deployed to ensure security at the venue.
They will have both covert and overt security. Even now, as I speak, the covert security is already here. That's why it's covert, you can't see it. We are going to make it so secure, but at the same time, so easy for people to access.
The service is expected to start at 9:30 a.m. with a procession, and Christians have been advised to take their respective seats by 8:30 a.m. in the morning.
I want to tell you there will be traffic tomorrow, so you have to wake up early enough so that you catch up with time.
If you're VIP and you have come late, please be courteous. Don't ask for people to push other people away. Sit where you'll be shown to sit.
Right Reverend Dr. Stephen Kazimba Mugalu is the 9th Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, who will also take over the Apostolic Province of Kampala. Sheila Nakawe, Paul Kayonga, NBS Live at 9.
And NBS Live at 9 returns with Weekend Live Chat and a lot more news.